Imagine stepping into an ancient arena not for football, not for cricket, not even for wrestling. Instead, you see strange games, forgotten by time, races with chariots pulled by, camels, ball games played with stone, and contests of balance on slippery mud. These were the sports of ancient civilizations, where laughter, danger, and glory came together. Today, we uncover ancient sports you've never heard of, and they might surprise you. Sports are as old as humanity. Long before stadiums and scoreboards, people competed for honor, strength, and joy. Every civilization had its own games, some we remember, like Roman gladiators or Greek Olympics, but many others have vanished, buried under ruins. Children once raced on sand with heavy stones, warriors practiced with games that looked like playful contests, and entire villages came together to celebrate strange competitions. These sports were more than entertainment, they were preparation for war, rituals for gods, and lessons for life. In this journey, we travel across the world to rediscover the forgotten sports of the ancient past. Long before football, children of Mesoamerica played a game with heavy stone balls. Unlike modern soccer, this was dangerous. The balls could break bones. Players used hips and elbows to keep the ball moving, never their hands. Imagine a dusty court with shouting, crowds, young men leaping sideways to hit the stone ball with their hips. To the audience, it was both sport and ritual. Sometimes winners were honored, and sometimes losers were sacrificed. We all know of Roman horse chariots, but few know that in parts of Arabia, camels were trained for races pulling light carts. Imagine the desert echoing with cheers as two young riders whipped their reins, the camels galloping across golden dunes. Children ran alongside, laughing, pretending to ride their own invisible camels. These races tested speed, endurance, and bravery, sports born from the desert itself. In some Asian villages, children competed to walk across slippery wooden poles placed above mud pits. Whoever crossed without falling won, while others dropped into the soft mud with laughter. Picture a group of children trying to balance on a log, slipping, tumbling, splashing mud everywhere as crowds cheer them on. It was playful, messy, and full of laughter, but also taught balance and agility. Ancient Egyptians practiced a sport that looked like fencing, but with heavy sticks. Young men squared off in open fields using sticks to block, strike, and disarm. Imagine, too, competitors in simple loincloths, their sticks clashing with sharp cracks as crowds watch eagerly. To outsiders, it seemed like a game, but to Egyptians, it was training for war, hidden behind the laughter of sport. While we know polo as a modern luxury sport, it actually began thousands of years ago in ancient Persia. Warriors trained on horseback, hitting a ball with long sticks. Picture noblemen riding horses at full speed across a green field, striking a wooden ball while soldiers cheer from the sidelines. For Persian children, it was both thrilling entertainment and inspiration, the sight of warriors mastering speed and coordination. One of the strangest but most thrilling ancient sports was the Greek torch race. Runners carried flaming torches across long distances, and the winner was the one who reached the finish line without letting the flame die. Imagine young athletes sprinting through narrow streets, sweat dripping, their hands trembling as they protect the flame from wind. Crowds cheer not only for speed but for skill, because carrying fire was as important as running fast. This sport symbolized endurance, discipline, and respect for the sacred flame. In Central America, the Mayans played a dangerous game with a ball set on fire. Players kicked and pushed the flaming ball across the ground, using only their feet. Imagine a dark night lit by fire, young men chasing the blazing ball, sparks flying into the air as spectators gasp in excitement. For children, it was a terrifying but mesmerizing sight, watching fire become play. To the Mayans, it wasn't just sport, it was symbolic. Fire represented life, energy, and the gods. Among Vikings, swimming was more than skill, it was competition. Young men dived into icy rivers, testing who could swim the longest or hold their breath underwater. Some even wrestled while swimming, trying to dunk the other beneath the surface. Imagine two boys splashing in cold water, gripping each other's shoulders, while villagers shout encouragement from the shore. For Viking children, water was not only survival, it was a sport of strength and fearlessness. In ancient India, a unique sport called Malakam trained children and warriors alike. Athletes performed acrobatics on a tall wooden pole, balancing, twisting, and hanging upside down. Imagine a boy climbing the smooth pole, holding himself with only one leg while crowds clap in amazement. It was part sport, part spiritual training, blending agility with discipline. Malakam prepared bodies for battle, but also impressed audiences with its daring beauty. Roman children enjoyed a sport that seemed simple but required great skill, rolling large, wooden or metal hoops along roads, guiding them with sticks. Imagine children running down cobblestone streets, chasing their rolling hoops, laughing as they compete to see whose goes the farthest without falling. Though playful, it trained coordination, focus, and endurance. To the Romans, even children's games reflected discipline and control. In Mesopotamia, rivers were lifelines, and sports often reflected that. Children and adults competed in boat races using reed boats. Imagine narrow reed canoes slicing through the Tigris River, oars splashing water as crowds on the riverbank cheer loudly. Young boys row, side by side, struggling to keep balance as their boats sway. For Mesopotamian children, these races were more than fun, they were practice for the skills they would need in fishing, trade, and survival. In parts of ancient Africa, a unique sport involved leaping over tall sticks planted in the ground. The challenge was not only height but grace. Imagine a group of young men running and jumping, clearing sticks that rise taller with each round. Children watch in excitement, clapping as one athlete soars high above the pole. This sport celebrated strength, speed, and elegance, turning jumping into an art form. Before sumo wrestling became a sport of giant men, its early form, called sumai, was practiced in small villages of ancient Japan. Two young men wrestled in dirt rings, trying to push each other out. Imagine a crowded circle of villagers, cheering as two wrestlers grapple, their feet digging into the earth. For children, these contests were lessons in strength, endurance, and courage. Sumai later evolved into the Grand Sumo of Japan, but its roots were humble village games. Among Native American tribes, a game called chunky involved rolling a stone disc across the ground while players threw spears to land as close to it as possible. Imagine a wide plain, children chasing a rolling stone, tossing short spears with laughter and shouts. The game was both fun and training, teaching precision, hunting skills, and focus. For ancient children, every throw was both play and preparation for survival. In ancient Celtic villages, young men competed by carrying massive wooden logs across fields. It wasn't just strength, it was balance and stamina. Picture a muscular youth struggling to keep a log steady on his shoulders while the crowd cheers, children running alongside, pretending to carry their own smaller sticks. This sport celebrated raw power, turning everyday tools of work into contests of pride. Far in the frozen north, Inuit communities turned survival into sport. Young men practiced ice wrestling, gripping each other's arms while standing barefoot on slippery ice. The goal was to throw the opponent down without losing balance. Imagine two boys sliding and struggling, their breath visible in the freezing air, while villagers cheer around a glowing fire. For Inuit children, this sport was both fun and training for the brutal strength needed to survive Arctic winters. Among the Aztecs, one rare variation of their ball games involved bouncing a rubber ball high into the air using hips and shoulders. Players competed to see who could keep the ball airborne the longest. Imagine a crowded courtyard, with athletes leaping and twisting their bodies as the ball flies above, children cheering every move. The game was a mix of skill and spectacle, testing agility in a way modern sports still struggle to match. In ancient Persia, javelin throwing wasn't just for war, it was also a sport. Warriors and children alike practiced throwing long wooden spears across open fields, testing distance and accuracy. Imagine a wide plain with painted targets in the sand, young boys taking turns, laughing as their spears fall short, while seasoned warriors send theirs flying far ahead. This sport combined competition with preparation for the battlefield. One of the most brutal ancient sports was the Greek pankration, a mix of wrestling and boxing with almost no rules. Fighters grappled, punched, and kicked until one surrendered. Imagine a sunlit arena, two muscular men locked in combat, sweat and dust flying as crowds roar. Children in the audience watched with awe and fear, knowing this was not just sport, but raw survival. Pankration tested every limit of the human body. In ancient New Zealand, Maori warriors developed a unique sport-blending dance and kumba. Young men performed with wooden spears, striking the air in rhythm, testing speed and precision. Imagine a circle of warriors moving together, spears flashing in sunlight, children mimicking their movements at the edge of the field. What looked like a performance was also deadly training, turning rhythm into readiness for war. In ancient Egypt, young men competed in water jousting. They stood on small reed boats, holding long poles, and tried to knock each other into the Nile. Imagine two narrow boats, swaying dangerously, players lunging with poles, while children on the shore scream in laughter as one tumbles into the river. It was playful yet thrilling, a contest of balance, timing, and courage, sports born from life on the Nile. In Rome, before gladiators entered the arena, special contests called venations were staged. Hunters released wild animals, lions, boars, or leopards, and men tried to outsmart them with speed and nets. Imagine a packed arena roaring as a young hunter leaps aside from a charging boar, tossing his net perfectly. For Roman children in the crowd, it was terrifying yet unforgettable, a sport where danger was the main attraction. In ancient China, long before modern football, people played kuju, a ball game where players kicked a leather ball through a net stretched between poles. Imagine a dusty courtyard with soldiers practicing kicks while children try to copy them, sending the ball bouncing in every direction. Unlike today's football, hands were allowed in some versions, but the excitement was the same. Kuju may have been one of the earliest ancestors of the world's favorite sport. In Ethiopia, a traditional game called Jenna was played, where men used curved sticks to hit a ball across fields. Imagine young villagers chasing after the ball with wooden sticks, striking and shouting in joy. To outsiders, it might look like a rough version of hockey. For Ethiopian children, Jenna was part of holiday celebrations, blending sport with community spirit. Its echoes can still be seen in modern stick and ball games. In Celtic lands, strength was celebrated through stone lifting contests. Young men attempted to raise giant stones onto platforms or shoulders, proving their power. Imagine a strong youth gripping a massive round stone, straining with all his might as villagers shout encouragement while children look on in awe. This sport tested raw strength and endurance. Echoes of it survive today in Highland games. For Celtic children, stone lifting was the measure of a true warrior. Long before modern surfing, Polynesian and Hawaiian communities rode wooden boards on ocean waves. For them, it was not only sport but also spiritual, a way of connecting with the sea. Imagine a young boy balancing on a rough wooden plank, sliding across a crashing wave, while elders cheer from the shore. Children learned courage, respect for nature, and joy through the ocean's rhythm. Surfing was both game and ritual, turning the sea into an eternal playground. In ancient Persia, young riders combined polo with archery. From horseback, they fired arrows at moving targets while galloping at full speed.
Imaginea Reader Learning Sidewise.
Loosing an arrow that hits a straw target while the horse charges forward. Children watched, in awe, dreaming of becoming warriors. This sport tested speed, balance, and deadly precision, turning battle training into breathtaking competition. Among the Inuit, one of the strangest sports was the ear pull. Two competitors hooked loops of string around their ears and pulled until one gave up. Sounds painful, but it tested endurance in harsh Arctic life. Imagine two boys grimacing, ice wind blowing, as villagers laugh and encourage them. For children, it was a test of toughness, preparing them for a life where pain was part of survival. The tug of war we know today existed thousands of years ago in ancient Greece. Teams pulled ropes in opposite directions, testing strength and teamwork. Imagine children gripping thick ropes, digging their heels into the dusty ground, while elders shout encouragement from the sidelines. This simple but thrilling sport was a reminder that strength was greater when shared. No matter the civilization, be it Egypt, Rome, Greece, China, or the Americas, children found ways to turn life into games. Whether balancing on mud poles, throwing spears, lifting stones, or rolling hoops, every sport carried lessons of survival, strength, and joy.
Imaginea.
Montage of children across the world laughing, running, competing, and celebrating. Sports may be forgotten, but their spirit is eternal. They remind us that from the beginning of time, humans have played, competed, and dreamed together. The forgotten sports of ancient civilizations show us that competition is as old as humanity itself. From clay courts to desert dunes, from icy rivers to roaring seas, every generation created games that tested courage, strength, and imagination. Some were dangerous, some playful, all unforgettable. Though time has erased their arenas and silenced their crowds, their spirit survives in every sport we play today. Because to play, to compete, to dream of victory, that is the eternal heartbeat of humanity.